Hey guys, it's Niptorka here. This time I've got a little bit of a different video this time that I've never really done before, but I kind of want to go into. And that's because there's a lot of trash being thrown on Honkai Star Rail, and I don't think it's really deserved, so to say. I feel like basically one person in the community doesn't like something that's occurring in Honkai Star Rail, and so then everyone starts to pile on, and they don't even realize what they're piling on or what they're complaining about, and it's just kind of ridiculous at some point. A lot of these people are, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's quite a few of them that are, Kuro game shills, and I mean, these are the same people that say, gotcha revenue doesn't matter, and then you can clearly see that they are not happy that they are not, topping the charts in revenue, and if they did, they would probably be talking about it nonstop. Even though I personally feel that the revenue charts don't matter, but it's interesting to kind of look at it and see what's going on. But I just kind of want to give you my thoughts on mostly patch 3.1, how it's a little bit different from what we've had before, or I should say 3.0 and 3.1 together is a little bit different than what we've had before. And kind of, I feel like take the heat off of Hoyoverse, because I think still to this day right now, HSR is the best Hoyoverse game that we have right now. A lot of people say ZZZ is cooking, and I honestly don't see it.
I don't see a
Maybe it's
skip
just
button
me,
in
and
Honkai
I'm
Star
sick
Rail.
of fishing events because 3 games I play at the same time all decided to have fishing events, and I was just like, man, I'm so sick of this. Um, Maybe it's part of that, but I think in terms of HSR, they've been doing pretty good. But there are some things that they could fix, and I'll address that at the very end. But kind of the big thing that I wanted to say about Honkai Star Rail is, you
Oh,
know,
that's why he's
back
spoiled.
in patch
Because the
2.7,
trial
everyone
is
was
actually
raving,
fire.
like, oh man, this is such a great patch, and this is gonna be one of the best patches ever, and some of that was warranted because it came off of probably, in my opinion, the worst patch ever in Honkai Star Rail's history, and that was 2.6, the
This
Rappa
guy's a
patch, which
total
was
clown.
awful.
He reminds me of
And
what's
3.0
the
comes
voice of
around, and those same people that said
divisional
it was
gladiator
amazing,
wizard
by the end of 3.0, they're like, man, HSR is going the same way as Genshin. I'm like, no, it's not. Don't give me that BS. Are there problems? Yeah, but it's nowhere near in the same direction that Genshin was or has been going for quite a long time. Now, the reason I believe this way is because the story for Amphorius is a little bit different from the other stuff that we've gotten in the past. Now, I've always been a huge fan of Belobog. I love Penacony. Xianzhou is kind of eh. But this story, which, takes place in, the ancient Roman, uh, ancient Greek timelines, basically, which is me being a history buff. I love that time period. Spent a lot of my college classes in ancient history classes, so it's I have a little bit of bias, just because of the background of it. But the problem with Amphorius compared to other stuff is that Amphorius was completely cut off from society completely. It wasn't like Belobog where like they had a history of a long time ago of being a part of the universe. Amphorius is literally a fresh start. And with Belobog, it was the very first story, so we were still being, spoon fed in bits and pieces the entire HSR lore, the Aeons, etc. And it took a while. We were already in the Xian show, and we are still learning stuff about the wider universe of Honkai Star Rail. But when you get to Amphorius, nothing that you've learned up until that point in the game matters. The Aeons don't matter. Like the IPC doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's a fresh start, and they have to start basically explaining from the beginning. And I think this is part of the reason people were so upset with the 3.0 storyline taking so long, and I understand where they're coming from, but you have to understand that they're building up this epic tale, and you can see it in like kind of the small little events. You know, remember we had the sticker book in Penacony, and this time we have like this epic tale chapter. They're trying to craft like a Homer Iliad type thing for us to be creating along the journey. And I think that Emphorius, unlike Penacony, which took like 4 chapters or 4 patches, I should say, Emphorius is gonna, at least from what it looks like, it's gonna take like full 7, 8 patches. We're not gonna have like filler patches back in the ZN show, like with Hule and so forth. Like it's just gonna be straight all the way through. It's a very large segment that they're doing, and they had to, kind of set the foundation for it, and that took a lot of time. So I understand that a lot of people in 3.0 were upset about that, and they didn't like that. It took so much time to do stuff, but in the end, they had to set it up. They had to explain the different, gods from, the 12 different gods, or so to say, and everything that's going on. There's some stuff that they could have skipped over. We didn't have to get a full rundown on why the baths are so great. But, for the most part, they had to re-explain from the beginning basically a whole new universe. And that's part of the problem with them trying to do this, is they're trying to start something completely different. And all the stuff that we know and love, the IPC, the different Aeons, Herda, you name it, Akiveli, none of that mattered from where we were in 3.0. And I think that's part of where a lot of the anxiety and angst against HSR began, is in the beginning of 3.0. Like, the story was too long, and that was kind of the big thing that people really complained about. And, some of it is warranted, like I said, with the bats, but overall, it was needed in order for this really long epic tale to be built. And in 3.1, that's when you really start to see it shine. And I think the stories with Tribby in my day were extremely good. Like, they were some of the best stories that we've had. 3.1 honestly was the best patch story-wise that we've had since, the last chapter of Penacony, which is like 4 or 5 patches. There's no doubt in my mind. It was really good. And, some people are out there like, oh, well, it just followed the stories of Tribby and my day. Yeah, that's like every single patch. Every single patch generally has a focus on specific characters that are prominent during the patch. The patch that Aventurine was released was very heavily focused on his backstory and everything that went on, when he was a kid. A big surprise. And no one back then was saying, oh, adventure, it was nothing but adventure. No, okay? That's just the way the game rolls. The story comes out and they're like, okay, let's be releasing these 2 characters because they fit with the story. That's what makes sense. And so with 3.0 and 3.1, the story, it's taking a long time to build up, but I think the payoff in the end is going to be really good, and it's a lot of fun. And I gotta say, the 3.1 storyline was really good. There were times in 3.0 I was like, oh man, this is dragging on, and I understand that, but when you get to 3.1, it was doing really good, and so I'm really impressed with it. And I think people need to stop, kind of trashing on it, because maybe it's not their cup of tea, or they don't like how long it takes to do stuff. Like, I understand, there should be more gameplay and so forth.
Damn.
And to be honest, Divergent Universe isn't my favorite, even though it was a massive update, and a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing that a ton." In all honesty, it will, for some people, that's not the greatest thing. So I understand where some people are coming with, like, hey, this needs to be fixed. We need to change some things here, but I don't agree with everyone just bashing on it, saying that the game is a dumpster fire now. And I think that's really unfair, and I think everyone should go back and take a look at the story and give it a second look and see how things are building on top of one another, because I think in the end we're gonna have a really epic story. And by patch 0.5 or 0.6, 3.6, everyone's gonna be eating their words about how they were with 3.0. They're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna come around and they're gonna be like, wow, they've done such a great turnaround. It's so good. No, they didn't do a turnaround. They just took a while to warm up. Like that's just kind of how it is sometimes, and that's the big thing with the story with this. So I guess the blunt thing that I'm trying to say about this story that's going on with Honkai Star Rail is, yes, it is long, it is long-winded. Some things take a long time. There is stuff that they could have taken out, but in the end, basically, they have to reset everything because Amphorius was completely cut off. Completely, not like Belobog, where they were cut off a long time ago, but they still had knowledge of the outside world, and everyone in the outside world knew of Belobog. That's not what happened here. No one knew of Amphorius, and Amphorius didn't know anyone. So they were completely cut off, and they kind of have to restart the story from the beginning. And so I hope that people will give it a second chance and kind of look at things. Now, how this could have all been avoided is by having a skip button. I mean, literally, 75% of the complaints that came out for this patch came from the freaking stupid, the fact that, the story was too long, there was too much sitting, and, like they'd have like a pan across when they didn't really need it, of scenery and so forth. And to be honest, it's been pretty consistent of compared to last patches, but those patches didn't last 10 hours. And so that's where the complaint comes from. Like everyone else, like they were getting to their limit like towards the end of the patch, and then the patch would be over and they'd be like, wow, that was really good. But then this one, they got to their limit, they went past their limit, and they're like, ugh. So you got to understand that all of this could have been avoided if they had a freaking skip button. And this still really pisses me off that they do not have one. And I will say right now, I would not be playing Zenless Zone Zero if they did not have those scenes that I could skip. Because I had so much trouble getting through the beginning of Zenless Zone Zero's story. I put ZZZ away until, like, from when Qingyi came out. Is that her name? I think. All the way until when Bernice came out. Like, I put the game down and didn't play it, and I would not have been able to get back into it if it weren't for the fact that I could skip through stuff. Sometimes you got to be able to skip stuff. Sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes you really want to get to gameplay. Sometimes, maybe people only like gameplay and the story isn't really their thing. It's advertised as kind of both. Like, you've got this great action RPG or turn-based RPG with a great storyline. That implies that it is a turn-based RPG, with a story, not a visual novel with some story, with some gameplay elements. So you need to be able to have a skip button in there, and this is the biggest problem, I think, with all Hoyoverse games, is just making sure that there's a skip button in there, because basically what you're saying is, I'm sorry, you are, like, as developers, Hoyoverse is saying, I'm sorry, this is what you're going, like, I know you like the gameplay of this game, but I'm not going to let you enjoy it without slogging through my story, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to force you to go through it. And you know what? Anytime you force your customer to do a part of the game that they don't really want to pay attention to, it never turns out well. And I'm willing to bet that there's a majority of the people out there that would love to go through every main storyline quest, but they don't give a damn about any of the side quests, and they just want to press the skip button. And the fact that you're still avoiding that is really irritating. And if they had that skip button in there, you would not have all of the feedback and complaints that you did from 3.0 going into 3.1 because of that. So, Hoyoverse, put a skip button in there. Stop being anal about not having skip buttons in your games, especially, Honkai Star Rail, and even more so Genshin. But I mean, that's a whole nother video because Genshin drives me nuts with it. But uh, you know, skip button could have avoided everything. Now, one of the other things that people complained about with Honkai Star Rail was the most recent Memory of Chaos. It's hard. Like, I'm not gonna deny it. And if you don't have the right characters, it's difficult. Now, this is coming from a person who sometimes doesn't, full star. I don't even know. Was it 36 stars? 36 star the Abyss, the Memory of Chaos. I can't remember how many stars it is, but this is coming from someone who doesn't always max star, Memory of Chaos, because I'm like, oh, man, I don't care about that, extra 50 or 60, however many it is. I'm just gonna forget it. And this isn't the first time this has happened. Everyone seems to forget, but that one time Aventurine was the final boss. It was miserable. And if you did not have like Adventure, I can't remember which character it was, but if you did not have the right character for that one, you were not beating it. And I didn't. And so this time around, I didn't have a Glia, but I had Herda. And I had no problem getting through Nikador. Took me 9 turns. But, I was able to do it. And I know other people to do it. Just so you know, my team with Nikador was a super fast Serval. It was Herda, Lingsha, and I didn't have Tribi yet. It was... I can't even remember. It was another support that I had in there. That's what it was. It was Remembrance Trailblazer. That's it. New Remembrance Trailblazer. Everything else, my gear is not cracked. It's very mediocre. The only 5-star light cones that I had on any of my characters in both phases was a 5-star light cone on Firefly. And then Herda had Himiko's light cone. And that's it. Everyone else was running 4-star light cones. There were no Eidolons on any of the 5-star characters. There were only Eidolons on, the 4-star characters like Serval. And even then, Serval isn't built for... she's just full speed, man. She's got no damage. So... it's doable, but please remember, everyone, at least with regards to Memory of Chaos, I know that was a huge point of contention in 3.0 and 3.1, is that, sometimes they come around. Sometimes, we have a hard one, and then developers are like, okay, maybe we don't use that boss again, or maybe we change the boss so that we can use it again, and that's how we get, like, kind of the weird adventuring that we see in the Apocalyptic Shadow right now. We get something a little bit different. But I remember that adventuring boss, and that was almost, a year ago almost, when adventuring came out. It was right before the, basically the Akron patch, I think it was, or maybe it was the Akron patch. It sucked. It really sucked. And, I personally had to just deal with not winning that one. But this one, considering how Nikador works, you basically just want to do mass AoE through the entire thing. And if you don't have someone who can do mass AoE through the entire thing, then you're not going to be very successful in that one. I would say it's something to look out for, but don't be concerned about it yet. Don't be throwing HSR under the bus just because,
Okay, that was crazy cool.
basically one time. Or this would be the second time now, that Memory of Chaos is really difficult. Wait until we start getting multiple ones in a row that are really bad. Basically that's what happened to Spiral Abyss and Genshin Impact. Like, we just started getting extremely bloated numbers, and it was frustrating. So pay attention to it, but don't, everyone is just taking these things that have past history, or they're not looking at it from, I think, the right context, and they're just adding it all together, and they're saying HSR is now a dumpster fire of a game. Everyone should drop it. It's garbage, and I don't think that's very fair. And so that's kind of the bulk of what this video was about, was to just kind of give my opinions on 3.1 and 3.0, and basically I guess you could say run defense for Hoyoverse. I just don't like you'll hear me talk if I don't like something. I'll admit it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm not gonna shill for a company. I think that'd be stupid. But I would hope that people kind of like look at things realistically instead of jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, he said this, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a garbage game. And these exact same people, 2 months ago were saying that like 2.7 with Sunday and Fugue was so awesome, man. It's like the best. No, it's not. A lot of people have complained about Tribby, and honestly, Tribby, they're like, every support that comes out is just so stupid broken. You have to have no. They're like, oh, just look at Robin, man. And they're like, Robin was so broken. I'm like, yeah, Robin. And then after that, we had Jiao Cho, we had Sunday, we had Fugue. We had a lot of support-based characters, and not every single one of them was busted and broken, okay? We've had essentially, I would say, 3 total throughout the span of the game. Not Sunday. Robin, Ron May, and Tribby. And now Tribby. And, excluding Branya, which I wouldn't count because she's the original character, you have Sparkle, who fell off. You have Jiao Cho, which is more specific to one character. You have Sunday, which is more of an upgraded version of Branya. You have Fugue, who is more of just an upgraded version of Harmony Trailblazer. You also had Harmony Trailblazer. So, quit it. Like, come on. Like, just take a moment and look back and analyze instead of just running off your emotions and claiming that the whole game is going down the shitter because, so-and-so new broken DPS is crazy, I got Tribby because I love the Looney Tunes atmosphere of Tribby. I had original Panda, not even bothering with her. But I'm kind of lacking for, some quantum at least breaking capability. Sela was always my DPS, and she's kind of gone. So I was like, you know what, let's go for it. So, anyways, that's pretty much the bulk of everything I had to say about 3.1 and 3.0. The TLDR, because it's already getting long. It's like, 23 minutes into this video or so. The story, first of all, 3.1 was excellent. Go out there and play it. It was really good. It was the best story that we've gotten since, I believe it was Penacony 2.3, which was the final chapter of Penacony. It was really good, and I think it's only going to get better.
Women sitting there going like, oh, men are
the story
so
had to build up. Like, sorry, it's gonna take a long time because they're starting from scratch. Give it some time, give it some leeway. If it still is not improving, like, I can understand, then you can start bringing out the pitchforks and everything. But give it some time, okay? Do not be jumping, down people's throats. Remember that this isn't the first time that we've had a really crummy memory of chaos that's really difficult. Aventurines, I still remember my misery with Aventurine, and I pretty much rage quit off of my computer that night when I couldn't do it, which usually doesn't happen, but it happens when I get frustrated by a boss I don't feel like I would have any shot of beating unless I had a specific character, which at the time I did not have like a healing. I did not have like someone like Wah Wah. I think that's what the problem was. I didn't have someone like Wah Wah that could heal, and Fu Xuan just couldn't take all the damage, and Lynx and whatever unit I had just could not keep up with how much damage was being done. So give it a break, see what the next Memory of Chaos does, see if it calms down. We'll go from there. And then the last thing is, yes, there are some very good supports that come out in the game, but this is not. It's not like each support is getting broken, because everyone seems to just like, people forget the supports that just aren't OP. You know, just because you've forgotten the supports that are not OP doesn't mean that you should be looking at trivia and being like, wow, every support is broken. I mean, just look at Robin, just look at Ron May. Well, you skipped about 5 in there that were released. So give it another shot. Think about it from a different direction. Don't I feel like stop jumping on the hate bandwagon, when really the only thing that it is a bandwagon led by someone who just reacts emotionally and doesn't think about everything, the way things are going. And no, I don't think this is any. This isn't like Genshin. Genshin had years of just garbage, and it was more like getting people to realize that things were not going the way we would like in Genshin. I don't feel like this is the same, and well, I would say go out there, look at it from a different perspective, and get ready for patch 3.2, because I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think the story is just going to continue to get really, really good as they create this Homer slash Iliad type of epic tale that we're getting, that's very reminiscent of ancient Greece and ancient Italy. So thanks for listening to it all. If you made it to the end, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying Honkai Star Rail and every game out there. But I will catch you guys next time. Neptorka out. See you guys.